All right. So like I said, social engineering attack has to do with manipulating people, you know, so that you can trick them to give out their confidential information. And there are three categories of social engineering attack. It could either be phishing attack, spear phishing attack, like I explained, then whaling attack, like I explained to you guys. Phishing is just like sending a malicious email, you know, to just anyone out there, any user out there. You don't care wherever they come from. You just send it. This is what Yahoo boys call bumping. They bump emails. They bump. They just send bump. Keep bumping. They don't know. They just get email address. They buy email address from what's it called, from whatever where they can get it, maybe from dark web or from wherever. Then they start bumping this email. So once they bump, you know, victims for this attack. Some victims click the link, you know, to buy something on Amazon, blah blah blah. That's it. It's just within that line. So that's phishing. Then we have spear phishing that is targeted on to a group of people, like I explained earlier. Then we have whaling. Whaling is targeted to powerful people in organization, you know, in the community, you know, MD, you know, and these people too are easily. It is easy for them to fall victims, you know. So next slide. Talking about, okay, we've also talked about X-ray injection attack, right? We said it's an attack that occurs in database-driven websites, right, where an X-ray query is used to gather information or to capture record or from a database, the backend database of a website, right? We talked about that. Then we briefly talked about what cross-site scripting is, but these are the different types of cross-site scripting. I will leave this for you guys to go and read. But I will just explain. Persistent cross-site scripting, reflected cross-site scripting, DOM cross-site scripting. In a layman term, what do they mean? So I explained to you guys that cross-site scripting is injecting a malicious script, right, on a website, you know, so that when the user clicked on it, it could infect the user system. Now, persistent cross-site scripting is when the attacker tries to inject that insecure website with a malicious script or on a permanent base. It's persistent in the sense that even if the server is restarted, that attack is still there. But if it is reflected, it is on a temporary base. It is at that point, at that instance in time. If you restart that server, that script is not there. It's not there. So it is just for a short while, you know. So that is the difference between a persistent cross-site scripting and a reflected cross-site scripting attack. You know, basically based on the fact that persistence is dead and is the most deadliest, because it's once the attacker finds a way to get into that system, even if except you discover that patch and remove it, if you upgrade your server, it is still there. Wherever you are, it is still there, except you put that server offline, you know. So the combination element of both persistent and reflected is DOM-based scripting. You know, it could today you have that a version of the script that is persistent, and you have a version of the malicious script that is reflected. You know, you keep on changing it on that same server. It is a DOM-based cross-site scripting attack. So those are just the three basic types. Don't forget the three basic types of cross-site scripting attack. So we talked about eavesdropping. Eavesdropping can be passive and it can be active, right? By listening to a message transmission over a compromised network, right? It's called passive eavesdropping. But the active one, it involves modification of information by the attacker over the network. Now, if you are just listening for the message I sent from the sender to the receiver, all you do is just to listen to find out if there's any useful information. That is passive. But it becomes active if you capture that packet and you redirect, you modify that packet and send it to the receiver. You get a packet, just like in man-in-the-middle attack. You eavesdrop. Once you eavesdrop, you capture that packet. Like I said, this is what you can do on using the Bob suite. You can intercept requests between the browser and the server. You can get that request, update and change that request and send it to the server. It will look as if it is coming from the browser. but it's actually coming from the Bob suite application, right? So modifying the packet that is being eavesdropped, that is what we call active eavesdropping, right? Also, malware has different type of attack. Please, it's also very important to take note of the different type of malware attack. Logic bomb is a piece of code intentionally inserted in the software that will be set off of a malicious function when a specific condition is met. A logic bomb is like you have a malware that is in a software. For example, a cracked version of most of it are like some of us, let me include myself, some of us that download cracked version of softwares, right? Then there are times that particular software has a malicious attachment to it, but it will not execute immediately. It might wait for a while. Maybe until you restart your system so that it will update itself on your registry key, right? That is what we call logic bomb. It waits for a particular set time. So this is mostly used by insider attack. Insider attackers that knows that, I'm going to be sacked, or they are seeing signs that they are going to sack them. They want to plant something malicious on that network. So if that eventually happens, that attack will trigger. So we've seen this kind of attackers majorly from insider attackers, insider threat, right? Worm, there's a difference between worm and virus. So the worms, these are viruses that are typically email attachments. They are mostly seen attachments in mails, and worms don't spread on worms don't spread on their own. Worms spread on their own without any action from the user. For example, if there's a malicious attachment, a malicious software that have a worm, right? You don't need to open that attachment. You don't need to open that software before the worm will start infecting your system. Provided that it is downloaded, it starts replicating, looking for which open port, a shared drive on your network to move, or somebody is copying a file. The worm make sure that it attaches itself to the external USB drive. So that is worm replicates on its own. But virus is the same thing like worm, but does not replicate. Virus is initiated. For example, once you start installing the software, you see that the virus will drop a file, underneath on the background and start infecting. That is how a virus works. Now, what is a dropper? A dropper is a program and not a virus. So it is used to facilitate an attack. So it sits on your device and waits for the right opportunity, then calls the virus, from a web, either from a CNC server, from the attacker's machine. So a dropper is like a file that's for example, mostly common to crack software. They'll just download, they'll just be there. You think that it's part of the files that comes with the software. They'll just sit on your system. But it will wait for a time, maybe when it will start checking whether the system is online. It will start pinging Google, for example. If you see that Google is not reachable, it knows that, this system is not online. Once the system is online, it tries to connect to a CNC server to download the virus itself that will now affect your system. So a dropper is just a software that facilitates the infection of a virus, right? Then, of course, you guys know what ransomware is. They are basically used to encrypt file and make sure that you don't have access to your information, and you have to pay a ransom for them. This is one of the most, at the moment, ransomware is at the top, at the top list of malware attacks that we have in the world at the moment, because it's very lucrative. It's not just you trying to affect the system. It's very lucrative because if users' files are encrypted, right, they have to pay. And once they pay, you have money. So that's why many people are, in fact, they have what we call ransomware as a service now. That just like we have software as a service, we have ransomware as a service. So these are very common attacks. So how do you stop a ransomware attack? So how does a ransomware attack work? You can see the first step is that the threat actor send an email with a malicious link, right? The threat actor send an email with a malicious link. The second thing that the email bypass spam filtering. So it is important you have spam filter. You have email security. If you are a cybersecurity analyst, it's very important that you establish security on your email server. Don't overlook it. So you can set up a spam filtering. So if that email, that malicious email bypass the spam filtering, and get to a user box, the next thing that happens is that a user received the malicious email and click on link. So a user that is not informed, click on that mail, click on the malicious link, right? What happens next is that the antivirus failed to block the threat. It fails to. So if your antivirus is not up to date, or you don't even have antivirus at all, it might fail to block the threat. Then malware syz.exe, the malicious file, is delivered and executed on that system. The next thing, that the victim files are encrypted by the malware. A ransomware note is typically asking for payment. Then the next thing, you see a ransomware note on your screen. You will not see anything else on your screen, just a ransomware telling you this is the Bitcoin address that for you to pay the Bitcoin if you want to get your file back. The attacker attempts to move lateral, look for other systems that are connected on that network to infect and encrypt. This is just how a ransomware works, guys. At this point, do you guys understand? Do you guys, I can see that some people are tired. We're almost done. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. So I just want to make sure that we finish up with the intro aspects of cybersecurity, so that we focus on more of the practical aspects in our next classes, right? Okay, so also I would like you guys to also go through ways by which you can prevent ransomware attack. Like I say, a very good way is back up your files. Make sure you back up your files. Also use an active firewall. Use an antivirus system that is up to date. And also update your patch, the computer patch, your operating system patch. Should be done. And don't just click link that you get via any mail. Don't just click any link. Make sure you investigate if it's coming from an external email address, right? So basically, we've talked about how to protect against some of this malware. You can see, to protect against SIM fraud attack, for example, make sure that you have a firewall, that block any form of repeated request, sync request that is coming repeatedly without acknowledging that request. We also talked about ping of death. We can also use in most organizations, they block ICMP protocol. They don't want you to ping their internal, so they use a firewall to block ICMP protocol, so that an external IP address cannot ping that server, right? So that is what those are some of the things that you can do to prevent some of this attack. So for phishing attacks, you need to carry out security awareness for your employers, your staffs, to let them know that you don't just click any link. If you see any link from an external party, investigate it. Send that mail to your security analyst for them to investigate, right? So those are some of the ways for you to block phishing and spear phishing attack, right? Okay, someone is asking between Mac and Windows system, which is more secure. At the moment, I wouldn't say. I think I would say Mac, because Windows has a lot of vulnerability, and you know the answer to that, because Windows, if you're an attacker, you won't want to focus on Mac, right? Because less people are using Mac. You want to focus on where the money is, where people are on the software that people use regularly. So the more demand for the software, the more risks there is for that software. So because Windows is used worldwide, everybody uses Windows, in some form of way, So that's why there's so much attack on Windows, because that's where the money is, right? So of course, Mac is more secure, but like I said, attackers are less focused on Mac than on Windows. Yeah. All right, guys. So we've also talked about these are some of the ways for you to also prevent some of this attack. Like we talked about, for expert injection attack, a very good way for you to block to prevent expert injection attack is through what we call stored procedures. Stored procedures and validate the input. So stored procedures is done on the code level. On writing the code, ensure that you have you followed the procedure for stored procedures. It's done on the code level. You don't just leave your code open-ended. So, and also validate input. So if, for example, I have a portal that has username and username and password, On the username, if I type 123, you should have a way to validate, to check that user don't type strings that are not expected, right? Don't just leave the fact that you have a username and password, you leave it open. You have a procedure to check that is the user entering the right, for example, the right format of user. So I shouldn't just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on my username. So if I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and it accepts, then that means your input validation is very wrong, is very poor, right? So we talked about cross-site scripting attack, and we talked about how one of the most important things is to secure your web server from injection attack, from attacker injecting malicious scripts on them, right? Okay, so this is a summary page on showing us how we can also prevent some of these cyber attacks, right? Also, some of the keywords that is very important for us to be aware of. Like I said, these are bootcamp. We're not just focused on offensive, we're also focused on defensive and just generally other areas of cybersecurity. You need to be aware of what security policies, security control standards, right? What are they generally? Procedure. So what is policy? So policy just basically boils down to, why do we need to do this? Why do we need to implement a security solution or a security procedure in our organization? Why do we need to implement a security control, within our organization? So policy tends to give us a high level expectation. Okay, this is what this organization security policy means. This is what we are trying to achieve: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, to ensure that our services are available to everyone. We want to make sure. So that is answer the question why. Then objective, what are the best practices out there? Control objective. Look at how can the condition be met? How can we meet the condition that we have stated on our security policy? How can we meet them, right? Now, if you look at standards, because security has a lot of standards. ISO 27001, we have NIST, we have GDPR, we have NDPR in Nigeria. NDPR is in Nigeria. These are standard. So what is our requirement? So because if you are establishing any security control, it should be in line with certain standard. So that's why you see most banks are involved in cybersecurity, because of the request, because of the demand from security compliance agencies. So what is request about? So that is where standard comes into play. Then procedure establishes proper steps to take. So now you have policies in place. Procedure is, okay, how do our employees, right? How do they take steps to ensure that they imbibe with this policy? They follow these policies that we have in place, these standards that have been put in place to ensure that, okay, two-factor authentication is in place. What are the steps that they need to do? What are the steps that they need to ensure that they secure their password? That is where procedure comes into play. It has to do with how do we actually do it? So breaking down into step-by-step procedure. Then we talk about guidelines, recommended guidelines. So for your information, like this month, like Security Awareness Month, what employees need to know about security in organization. That is where guidelines come into place, guys. Right? Okay. So guys, I'll be sending this to the team and also send it to the group. So there's a quiz for us to take. There's a link for us to take a quiz. So I'll send it on the chat for everyone, but I'll also send it on the group too. Yeah. So guys, I'm just going to show you guys. I think we are done with this session. Yeah. So it's just a quiz. Once you go to that link, it has 5 questions on cybersecurity fundamental. It's a quiz for us, for you to take. You can take the quiz and share me your results at the end of the quiz. So it's nothing special, but I really want you guys to go through it so and be aware. It's so that it's just going to open you guys to some of the kind of questions you will see. You can be asked maybe during an interview or during an open exam. about cybersecurity fundamentals. So you can go through it. Like I said, I'll share it on our channels, right? Yeah. What else do we have on our slide? Okay, so I wanted to do a demo, but it seems that is late. So can we fix a time for the demo? Or we should continue. I'm not sure we have to continue because we've used a lot of time. I want you guys to let's have a conversation if you want us to continue or you want us